banter. Balls and banter. No excuses, just win, win, win with your balls and banter. We got balls, we got pucks, we got sticks, we got everything in between. We got balls and banter.
All right, folks, it is Tuesday. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having yourself a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. Man, I tell you, what an outstanding weekend of sports. Basketball bliss. Just the March Madness. I mean, this time of year is so special, Tom. It's like the absolute best. My kids are all into it now, which makes it even more fun. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing well, and you're right. It was basketball bliss. Right now, I feel like we're in the time period where we're all laying back, smoking a cigarette over that weekend that we just had.
Yes, the post-madness cigarettes. We've all done it. We've all experienced it. Here's the problem. That's true. Like, you've got those, that fun kind of like aftertaste in your mouth of like a great weekend of sports. But now, as we've talked about, the problem with March Madness is Monday through Wednesday feel like you're at a funeral. It's terrible. And you don't know what to do with yourself. Like, you don't know if it's worth going on. By the way, you should. We do not condone suicide or any of those things around here. But it's like, what do we do now? And then to make things worse, my wife and I finished the Madison last night. So it's like, well, what am I supposed to do with my time now? That free. We're going to talk basketball in a second. We're going to talk the other sports that happened this weekend. I know we keep talking about it and broing out on it. And some of you are like, stop talking about the Madison. No, you shut up and listen. It's a freaking phenomenal show. Michelle Pfeiffer deserves every award, even for things that she's not in the category of at the next run of awards. I guess that would be next, whenever that is.
She deserves a Nobel Prize. Let's just give her that one,
Let's just give her that one. Yeah. No, it's so freaking good. I'm so bummed that I'm done with it because the writing and the acting is just like, mwah. Like, I don't know why I did that because I'm Nordic, not Italian, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really good show. And what I'm continually amazed at, and I was telling my wife this the other day, is that Taylor Sheridan has cracked the code where he's taken a chick-centric themed television show and made it so guys are into it too. It's really amazing what he's done.
Absolutely. No, it's 100% true. He has, because it's very chick-centric, and yet it's just awesome. And I'm telling you, Michelle Pfeiffer has always been a studette, but she is so stinking good in that show. I'm not going to say anything that will spoil it for you. Just go watch it or we can't be friends.
One of the things that I really like about her acting, and I see it with Demi Moore as well in Landman, is the fact that Taylor Sheridan has tapped into these women that have been in Hollywood for a really long time, and he has crafted the scripts so well for all their strengths. So when you see them, acting and being a part of what's going on, it reminds me, you know how Gene Hackman, when he in any movie he's ever been in, you believe he is that person.
Yeah,
that's the same way with Demi Moore, and especially Michelle Pfeiffer in this one. You believe that's her.
Yeah,
you know that you're watching something that is scripted, but you actually think that Michelle Pfeiffer is a mourning widow going through the grief process. It's amazing of how well written and acted this thing is.
Yeah, it is. This is not like a spoiler, but I love that Will Arnett gets worked in towards the end. And I think he's got a quiet little fun side character there in a different role for him. So
right, playing the part of the psychologist or the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? The funny thing about that part is I kept thinking, oh boy, and thinking about the way other shows are done. Here we go. We're introducing the love interest for Michelle Pfeiffer. He can never replace the part of Kurt Russell in her life. But then it's like, well, maybe that's not it. Maybe maybe this might be a setup for something down the line, but it really doesn't feel that way right off the bat. Usually in other shows, it's like, okay, I see the formula now. It's very boring, and this is what they're going to do. But in this one, it's like, maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We got to wait. Here's the nice thing. They've already filmed season 2. It is happening. It's already been filmed. It's in the can. Like they're doing post and all of that. I don't know when it gets released. Too long. I know that much, but really good show. If you haven't watched it, check it out. You will love it. You're welcome.
When's Lioness coming back? Speaking of another chick-centric show.
Yeah. A badass chick-centric show. I don't know. Not soon. Also not soon enough. I know it's this year. I don't know. But Lioness, Landman, and the Madison are the top. I'm putting up 4. The top 3 for me. Hooked on Phonics, working for me. I get numbers and words. But those 3 right there, like I will choose watching that show over hanging out with almost anybody I know. Like, do you want to go get some beer? Oh, no, not tonight. New episode of Lioness drops. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
One quick question before we wrap up this segment about the Madison. Do you ever find yourself welling up with tears while watching the Madison?
Every episode. I have cried in every episode. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm a proud weeper. I have teared up in every episode at least once. Partly because of some of the storyline, and partly just because, like, holy cow, this is beautiful. Like, it's just good. Like, sometimes you're just like, I'm just excited about how good this is, and like you tap into that deeper core of your being where you're like, I'm just welling up with joy and tears. Like it every time.
Right. I think that's part relief because we've been in sort of an artistic desert when it comes to television and film for the past, 10 years or so.
Yeah.
To see something that reminds us of how we felt when we first were exposed to, good films and good television, to me, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, for at least for this 1 hour, I've been teleported back to, 1980, 1970, when there were really good scripted pieces that were done by Hollywood.
Yeah, no, it is. It's you actually get a break from life for this hour because you are going along on it. I think maybe I didn't text you, maybe I did. I don't remember. But my wife last night was like, "Can we not watch it tonight?" She's like, "I can't handle it ending."
I can imagine your wife being emotionally drained at the end of those episodes.
It's yeah. I mean, she loves it too. Like. It's really good. All right, Taylor Sheridan, you owe us something for this. We owe you, okay? Like you've given us a lot in return, but like we push the shit out of your products and your shows on this show. So like, let us just come on set, maybe cast us in something. I mean, look at Tom's an amazing character. By the way, Dutton Ranch comes out in a month, next month, I think, with Rip and I'm thinking of her real name, Kelly. And Beth, gosh, I couldn't think of it. So that should be good too. So at least we've got something else to fill in the Taylor Sheridan hole. Okay, we're going to talk about March Madness. I promise. Of course, that's the season we're in. But
fill in the Taylor Sheridan hole. Is that what you just said?
And that's it. That's it for the show. Yes, we did. I mean, if that's what gets us on set, I don't know. We'll talk about it. But there were some other sports this weekend. And there was a race at Darlington Raceway, a very famous race and very famous raceway. And Tyler Reddick, who's becoming a very famous racer, won again. 4 out of the first 6 races this year. He won 3, as you guys know. We've talked about in the show. The first 3 in a row. And then he wins again this weekend. Michael Jordan, everybody celebrating. The dude's only the 3rd driver in history to win the first 4 of 6 races. He is on a mega run right now, and it's just crazy to see. Like, you normally can't. I mean, we've talked about it before. Like, what are the toughest things to bet on? What's like, well, NASCAR, golf, which is what we're talking about next. Some of these sports, it's becoming like I'm becoming a liar. It's like, no, it's not hard to bet. Just bet on Tyler Reddick, and you got pretty good odds. But crazy performance by him.
Yeah, crazy performance. I mean, I don't know. This kind of
Okay. I know you want to go there. So just go do it. Don't be free.
I kind of feel like I feel like we're being played. I don't think this is possible, especially in this day and age with the parity you have in sports and especially in auto racing. Something about this isn't ringing true to me. I want it to be true. I want it to be like, the way NASCAR was back in, when it started in the 1940s or 50s. And like, you have like Gober Sosby going out and winning races, one after another because, he was doing something a little extra to his car. But I just kind of the feeling that I have when Tyler had the three-peat was okay. If there is some sort of shenanigans going on, I'll let this pass because the season is really long, and that's totally fine if you want to get viewers and get interest because, Michael Jordan being this iconic figure is going to draw in viewers, even from a car owner perspective. Michael Jordan is so iconic that at least for myself, and I think people of younger generations, especially Gen Z, who've heard a lot about Michael Jordan, just want to see him. And to see him present at these races is going to help people tuning in, and especially if they win. So I'm not to the point where I am definitely like, oh, NASCAR's pulling the wool over our eyes and this has now become WWE. I'm not at that point. I'm still at the point where I'm going to say Tyler Reddick is a hell of a driver and they've got a hell of a team going. But the one sort of caveat to that is also you have Tyler Reddick, but you also have the steady rise of Bubba Wallace, who I'm not convinced at all is a good driver.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think where you're at's maybe a healthy point, maybe a slight jump across the line of healthy, but in the fair enough range. I mean, his teammate is Bubba Wallace. Like, that's the other Jordan racer. And you'd think if they were going to come up with, like, crafted narratives and storylines that he'd be the one they use.
Well, that one to me would be too obvious, at least with this one where you have a driver who has a lot of skill like Tyler Reddick does. He would be easier to push. Most race fans know the shortcomings of Bubba Wallace as a driver. So to push him to start winning races like a Tyler Reddick would be it would be like Rey Mysterio beating the Big Show. You're just not going to buy it, even though you can suspend disbelief for a little while. Just based on his skill level, Bubba Wallace's skill level, he is not comparable to Tyler Reddick when it comes to driving. And the Jordan team found a driver that they could push. And what I see with this whole sort of storyline, if there is a storyline, is Bubba Wallace riding the coattails of Tyler Reddick to try and gain his popularity in the sport.
Okay. All right. I'll let it stand. I watched a great court scene, by the way, last night. One of the best scenes ever filmed in cinema from Big Daddy. Not really. I'm being facetious, but I did watch the court scene.
I've got a better comparison for you when it comes to a wrestling metaphor with Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. I see this as being, Razor Ramon. What was?
Yo.
Yeah, that character. That character and dude, the name of his tag team partner
Kevin Nash.
No, not Kevin Nash. It was earlier
back when he was Razor Ramon.
Yeah, and
I don't remember either.
His tag team partner. But anyways, it was everyone thought that it was it was Razor kind of bringing. Well, they thought the tag team partner was bringing Razor just along, for the show, but he was the one who was actually, putting the other wrestler over. And I'm sorry I blew that metaphor, but not remembering.
You leaned heavy into it.
I know. I was like, oh God, this is going to be a good one.
So he was with Marty Jannetty from the Rockers at one point. That's not the one. He was with Ric Flair at one point. Stevie Ray.
No, it was Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty was the one who actually had the real wrestling skill that helped put Razor Ramon over, or Scott Hall over with the fans. And people were like, oh, Scott Hall, you got to get rid of Marty Jannetty. And I kind of see, I see Tyler Reddick as your Marty Jannetty as the driver who's got the actual skill. But, with the reputation that they have, Bubba Wallace has a reputation of being the guy everybody wants to win just because it fits a narrative. The same thing with Razor Ramon.
Yeah, so Marty Jannetty puts just a quick side discussion here before we talk golf for a second, then we'll take a break. But the Marty Jannetty with Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, also obviously part of the Rockers, very famous 80s tag team. I loved those guys growing up. With Shawn Michaels, but he's a great wrestler who's always been propping someone else up and or overshadowed by someone. Like Shawn Michaels, of course, went on to be one of the biggest things ever. You know, poor Marty Jannetty. Hopefully you're getting therapy, bro. I hope you are. Talk to somebody. It's important. Last week, Players Championship was here again. I'm so thrilled. I know I keep saying it. I'm so thrilled all of you people are out of my town. But I hope you had a blast, and they put on a great event like they always do. But you had it come down to a playoff. Cameron Young and Matt Fitzpatrick. Well, you're looking on the screen here. You can see Matt Fitzpatrick, this week at the Valspar Championship at Copperhead, redeemed himself. Tight finish, and he gets the championship. So last week didn't go his way, gets gut punched in the end, loses out on over $4 million. This week rebounds, wins, and has a great performance. So good for him. Good for him, and you know we're getting really close. Georgia's on your mind, or it should be, because it's coming up. It's coming up. We need to. Do you think that they'll ever let Balls and Banter report live and do the show from Augusta? I've got an idea of what I think my answer is.
I think we'd have a better shot at the waste management.
Yes. No, we belong at the Waste Management Open. Like Phoenix, we'll be there next year. Don't worry, we will be there. But yeah, I think Augusta's probably never going to happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, reporting from Augusta, from the club itself, I don't think so. Maybe from the town. I think we could get within maybe like 4 or 5 miles of the golf course.
Yeah, perfect. Live on location-ish. We're kind of there. I love it. Well, hey, we got to have goals. We all got to have goals in life. That's one of ours. We're going to start doing events and road shows at some point here, and then road shows the next level. The Super Bowl of road shows is Augusta. I will put pants on. I will put pants on, I promise. I won't wear anything underneath them because I just feel like that's restrictive, but I will wear pants to said event if we get the invite ever. I just want to win the damn lottery one year and get some tickets. I've never been. All right.
I bet you anything, if I put on a pair of those white coveralls like the caddies wear and light up a cigarette and just kind of like meander my way in there, I could get in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you by the way, you should have been a caddy in the second Happy Gilmore. Like you should have taken the place of the one in the first one. I love it. All right. Well, that's the other sports. We're going to talk March Madness, but we're going to do it after a break. So we've got that. We've got some NFL news. We've got this other story. I don't even know how to segue to it. But that's all going to be coming up after the break. Stick around.
Are you sick of hearing how all the home security solution companies keep pushing their newfound tech, super easy installation, and superb customer service? We get it, and we get security. We also get that protecting your loved ones, your home, and prized possessions within it is super important. That's why we've taken a different approach to home security. Forget the high-speed tech that could get knocked out with a heavy storm or some obsolete system that relies on an old phone line in your house, and lean on something tried and true. Cougar Home Defense. You see, our approach is much different. Criminals most often strike out of convenience and are routinely scared away by bright lights, a loud dog, and of course, the most feared noise in the burglary community, the sound of a round being chambered in a shotgun. But why settle for the tried and true basics when you can take things to the next level? That's where we come in. When you call Cougar Home Defense, we'll connect you with one of our customer success associates who will get you scheduled for your big cat's delivery. And we're not talking about Garfield or some overweight house pet. No. We're talking a big-ass man-eater cat that's highly adaptive to multiple habitats. So say goodbye to criminals and say hello to peace of mind that only your new jungle cat can bring. Individual results may vary. Cougar Home Defense cannot guarantee the safety of your family or possessions. Cougar Home Defense sends your big-ass jungle cat with 24 hours worth of food. Owners are responsible for additional food and or accessories. In most cases, your cat will sustain himself without your assistance. You'll see what we mean.
All right, now we'll talk March Madness. We're getting there. I told you we would. I don't lie to you most of the time. I mean, every once in a while I do, but it's just, old habits die hard. Intelligence officer. But we had a great week. Man, it was a great weekend of basketball. The amount of, speaking of Michael Jordan, I'm researching because I know Jordan's a big cigar smoker, and it was a beautiful weekend. So I'm sitting out back on the patio. Tom, you know the scene, watching the games on the outdoor TV. It's not as picturesque as you guys it's not like this is not a boast. I'm just saying we have an outdoor TV. And I'm sitting out there, I'm like, how many cigars does he smoke a day? Just, it's like, when you find yourself searching, like, what are the health benefits of whiskey? It's like, there are none. Well, actually there are, but when you do that, you're trying to justify something bad. So I'm searching, how many cigars does Jordan have a day? And they're like, reports suggest that he has upwards of 6 a day some days. I'm like, I'm good. Light another one up. Let's go UCLA. Who lost? But Big Ten did have a great performance. They've got the most teams in the Sweet 16. We'll show you that in a second. But this is your Sweet 16 right here. We've got, starting top left, going down, Duke, St. John's, great matchup. Michigan State, UConn, great. I mean, those 4 teams right there, those are like basketball powerhouses. Then you go down, Iowa knocks off Florida. Sorry, Tom. Iowa knocks off Florida. They're taking on Nebraska, playing for some corn or some shit. I don't know, but they're playing in the Sweet 16. 2 Big Ten teams going at it. It's weird still that Nebraska is in the Sweet 16, but I love it for them. That's awesome. Great athletic school. Illinois, Houston. And then up on the other side, and then I'll shut up and you can talk about it, Tom. And let's leave this up for a second. We'll, Tom, digest it. Arizona, Arkansas, 2 great basketball programs. Texas, who's maybe the biggest surprise, not maybe, is the biggest surprise in the Sweet 16, had to win a playoff game to get into the tournament of 64. They're taking on Purdue, who looked great. Michigan, Alabama, and then Tennessee, and Iowa State. What do you like about this, Tom? Tell me your thoughts.
Well, what I like about it is seeing teams that are in the Sweet 16 that we don't normally see, like you had touched on with your Nebraskas of the world. And I love having Nebraska in there because their fans are so insane.
They are.
That's one of my favorite parts about this is the fan reaction of the Nebraska.
They set a decibel record the other day at the arena they were playing in.
Yeah, I like them. When Miami of Ohio was in, I like their swim team coming out there. I think that, at least for me, this whole tournament, harkens back to a more fun time in sports in the United States.
Yeah.
The part that, is kind of like, I don't know. We don't have any Cinderella teams anymore. You could talk about your Texas or you could talk about your Nebraska being Cinderella teams, but these are traditional, blue chip schools when it comes to athletics. So it really isn't that very, very sort of Cinderella-y.
No.
Now.
And that kind of brings up the question, we've kind of talked about it, is, does Cinderella even exist in this world anymore? Because to be Cinderella, like we were charting towards new level, particularly in basketball. We were charting towards new levels of parity. And then NIL happened. And in football, NIL helped some lower schools too, or schools that maybe were not blue bloods traditionally, but had some wealthy donors who can take them up a level. And you see Texas Tech and their ascent this past year. You see SMU the year prior. You see what Indiana's obviously doing. They've had a pretty good run, don't you think? But you see those things in basketball. You've always had these other schools that like come from the Atlantic 10, the Big East, and some of these schools, out west and with Gonzaga and all of them, who's still up towards the top. But the parity is shifted in the basketball world, because now you do. Like now it's, I mean, take for example, look at what's going on. Let's pull up that next graphic, because you look at the conferences who have teams left. The Big Ten, obviously the two biggest Power Four conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. Big Ten's got 6 teams in the Sweet 16. SEC has 4. 10 of the 16 teams are from those two power conferences. You add the Big 12, who's one of the other Power 4 conferences. That takes you to 13 total. And then the ACC has 1 with Duke. That's 14. So 14 out of 16 teams are from major Power 4 conferences. Now, again, in basketball, the Big East is great, and you have UConn and St. John's. But I don't know if Cinderellas can really exist anymore, because Cinderella, in this case, at some of these schools, don't have the money to compete with. I mean, just look at the Big Ten teams. And look at those top 10. Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan. At least 4 of those teams, but really all of those teams have so much money. Then you go to Texas, Tennessee, Alabama. Holy crap. We're talking so much money. Arkansas does great too, particularly on basketball. So yeah, I don't know if the Cinderella story is going to happen that much, if at all, anymore.
Yeah, I think the Cinderella being a small school getting into the NCAA tournament, I feel like that ship has sailed, unless you have a small school that has very robust recruiting and a travel budget to go to Serbia or any sort of former Eastern Bloc country and start looking for talent there, because I think that is going to be the best way for a lot of these programs to move forward. I mean, just look at the amount of foreign players that we have in the NCAA tournament right now. The teams in the Sweet 16 are stacked with foreign players.
Oh, it's starting to look like a hockey game. Like you're like, I can't pronounce that name. Like that's not fair.
Right. And I think I'm not sure what's going on in well, you see it in the NBA because the 2 best players aren't from the United States. And now you're starting to see it within the within college basketball. And it's kind of I'm not really sure, what is going on. Is the talent pool, in these countries that much bigger and that much broader than it is in the United States? Or is it the type of gameplay that they grew up playing? Do they have better fundamentals? Do they have a better way of, offensively of, passing the ball around or moving into open spaces than the players from the United States? So I think what we're seeing is kind of, I don't think this is a fad. I think this is going to be a trend that we're going to see continue on, because when the teams that have the most amount of foreign players, to me, the ball movement that they have offensively is a lot more crisp than it is with, a team that has just all American players on it.
Yeah.
And
more fundamentally sound. Yeah. I mean, it does seem that way. Like it's like, this is a team who was coached by Gene Hackman and Hoosiers versus this team over here who looks like they're playing street ball.
Right. And I think you could blend the 2 of them. But I think for me, it's what is it? What does the program look like where you came up from? What kind of ball did you play? Did you play, was it organized like travel leagues, or was it just mainly high school? Because I feel like the way that sports has become in the United States is very specialized. And I feel like overseas it becomes specialized too. If you're in the 2nd grade and you're 6 feet tall, you don't really have a choice on what sport you're going to play. You can either be a goalie and block up the whole thing, or you can play basketball where you get a chance to run up and down the floor. And I feel like that model is coming to the United States, where we're going to see even more specialized athletes in specific sports, which to me, I see the pros and cons of it. And one of the big cons that I see is being a well-rounded athlete. And in talking to scouts who were, one scout in particular who was at the combine, he was talking about the footwork of some of the offensive linemen. And he's like, a lot of these guys, a lot of these offensive linemen, football is the only sport that they played. So it's very hard for them to develop different skills when it comes to footwork because they don't have that overall capacity of being able to move their body in a different way if they had the ability to play another sport. So in one way, I understand that, you know, if you've got a kid that has got, you know, tremendous ability at baseball and you want to see him excel at baseball, and so that's all you do with him, at some point they're going to lack some sort of skill later on in baseball that they could have developed, you know, some other muscle groups they could have developed by playing golf, by playing basketball, or any other sport. Yeah. To me, this just pigeonholes the athlete. But if, you know, in the end, if your goal is not to be the greatest athlete ever, but, you know, overall athlete, but just to be proficient in your sport where you can make a good living at, I can see, yeah, that's the way to go. But I think for, you know, overall dominance in any sport, I think that your background needs to encompass a lot more sports in it, Absolutely. Whether it's competitive or just recreational.
Yeah, we talk about this actually a lot on the show, and I think you're 100% right. Like that's one area we've departed from, and it does, like, yes, you're more specialized. Yes, your mind is more focused on schemes and schematics in that particular sport. You might understand that particular sport better, but you are hurting yourself a little bit in these other categories. You know, this fast twitch muscle fiber group is not working the way that it would if you'd played basketball along with football, you know, and if you had done, you know, whatever. And I get it. Like, there's like, if you're Oliver Rue, or however you say his name, from Florida, who got in this weekend, did you see that? He's 7'9". Yes. I mean, he can just stand and dunk. Like, it's like he's literally 2 feet from the rim.
That one clip of the other guy who's 6'8" is amazing. It's one of my favorite clips that I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's looking down on him. I mean, it's crazy. There's exceptions to everything. Oliver, 7'9", bro, you're only sports basketball. Like, that's what you're playing.
Or a professional wrestler.
But you got to put a lot of meat on. But, yeah, I agree. I think losing out on that, and not just because – here's the thing. Most people don't play collegiate sports at a high level. Most people don't go D1. It's a fraction of a fraction. And then the amount of people that go from there to professional sports, even smaller. But it's just you've got to have a couple things. You've got to be able to, in my view – you've got to be able to talk sports and understand sports if you like them. If you don't, then by all means, don't care about it. Go knit or pet your cat or whatever weird stuff you do. But you've got to have the ability to talk sports and understand it. And then I think a step up, if you care about sports, you got to be able to jump into a game of beach volleyball or pickup basketball or kickball and be a freaking athlete, like be able to contribute to the game. Like, you can't be, what's Philip Seymour Hoffman's characters, something Miles in Along Came Polly. You can't be playing basketball like him. Let it rain. You know, he's just.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times where when I was a kid and my parents would put me in sports that I didn't like, particularly baseball. I couldn't stand it. I wasn't very good at it. I was a terrible hitter. I was a decent fielder. I was a pretty good base runner, but overall, the pace of the game was a bit too slow for me.
Yeah, slow.
But you know, it was one of those things that you went through. You know, my baseball career didn't go past Little League. But I did develop the fundamentals of be able to hold a bat, to be able to swing a bat. You know, still to this day, I can go to a batting cage and take a couple of cuts and look like I know what I'm doing, even though I was probably the worst, you know, Greater Naples Little League player ever to exist.
I don't think they keep those records, so I think you're safe. But.
Yeah. But at least you know, I was able to develop that skill. Same way with tennis. I was never a tennis player, but you know, during summer camp, camp, we had to play tennis. And so, you learn the fundamentals of it. So even to this day, again, if somebody wants to play tennis, it's like, I'm not a very good tennis player, but I know how to serve. I know how to keep score. I know the basics to it. And when it comes to socializing with people, there isn't a sport that I haven't played or can't figure out how to play based on the skill set that I developed when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I agree. Well, now you're a pickleball player, so you're kind of in the same world.
Exactly.
Two things on tennis. One, my good buddy from overseas, who's your buddy too, who, was on the old version of the show back at Blaze TV, Mike. He and I used to live in the same neighborhood, and we go one day. We haven't done anything. We're in shape doing our old job, but we're not in like sports shape. Like, let's go play tennis at the tennis court, because we've got a equidistance between our houses. We go do it. I'm telling you, like, you want to see some middle-aged, at the time, probably in our 30s. Like, so, like, things are still going pretty well for us. Like, testosterone levels haven't totally dipped. Like, we still have some hope for our lives. And we go and we play. And within minutes, hands on knees, like that game, that game, I will give them props. I'm not a tennis guy, but I like to compete. And I did not compete well that day. Neither of us did. We were both so winded because it's a different, the way you're moving, it's just different. Like it was actually one of the more embarrassing moments of my life. It's like I was a Division I athlete, and I just got my ass kicked in a small community recreational tennis court. Not by Mike. I don't remember if either of us even scored a damn point. I got beat by myself being out of tennis shape, and it was disappointing. The other thing is I played it growing up, and, you have your, finger parents' girlfriend growing up in, like, upper elementary school, middle school. They're not really. Like, don't waste your time with that, kids. But my girlfriend whooped my ass in a tournament at the country club, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I got to this I don't know if it was the championship or the semifinal or whatever it was. Doesn't matter. It's youth tennis. And I'm like, this is going pretty good. And this is going to be awkward because now I got to play my girlfriend. It's going to be really awkward because I was a pretty successful athlete, and I got my tail whooped by Alyssa Williams, who's a beautiful person inside and out to this day. She's an awesome person. And I was like, all right, well, I think this is the end of this road. I think I'll just stick to the major four sports and go from there.
Well, that's what happens with the deception of youth. When you played a sport when you were a younger kid and somebody asks you to go play that same sport like tennis, it's the deception of you're that 10-year-old or you're that 12-year-old that played that sport. So the court being the same size, was a lot easier to get around when you were that age because you had boundless amounts of energy.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're in your 30s and 40s, that tennis court becomes the largest playing field that you've ever been on. And there's so much real estate that you have to cover. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I may have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew. And the same thing could be said for pickleball. But, even being a smaller court, what I've realized is I have the mentality of having the reflexes of a 16-year-old, but playing that sport, I have the reflexes of a 50-year-old now, where I see a ball and I go for it, and it's like, why am I moving in slow motion? I should be getting to the ball a lot quicker than I am right now.
Yeah. It's disappointing. Age and gravity suck, man. It's not fun. It's not fun. I know some of you in the audience are significantly older, and you're like, you don't even know the half of it yet. Like, we don't. I get it. Like, but for those who are on the younger side, you don't get it. You think it could never happen to me. It's coming. It's coming, Scooter. Whether you want it to or not, there's going to be things that like drop and do different. There's going to be parts of your body you're going to be like, this is terrible, and it is.
But it all starts with having to turn on a light to read something. And then it starts with moving whatever you're reading a little bit further and further away from your eyes to read it. And then it just starts going rapidly downhill, and you start feeling this, overwhelming sense of guilt of all the people that you talk shit to when you were younger about doing the same thing that you're doing right now.
Correct. Correct. I need my phone minimum 3 feet away right now to read it. And I was thinking the other day, I'm taking my son. He's going on a mission trip this summer, which is awesome. And so we're going to get his first passport, and we're at the DMV, and we're doing that. And there's a guy next to us, at the window next to us, and he's just renewing his driver's license. And they're like, okay, put your forehead on the little eye reader thing. So he, is in there. I'm like, oh, no. Like, I have to do that, I think, this summer. I don't know if I can pass that test. I think I can. I think I'm good. It's been over 20 years since I had LASIK, so now my eyes are tired and failing me. But I literally had a moment of panic. I'm like, uh-oh. That's not going to be good. Can you read those letters? No, ma'am, I cannot. Can you give me the new license? No, sir, we cannot. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I want to pivot back to basketball for a second. High Point beat Wisconsin in the first round. High Point, the small private university in North Carolina. I'm pretty sure that I was a counselor at an FCA camp there one summer. If it wasn't there, it was near High Point. And there's a bunch of small schools all over North Carolina. But if it was, actually, I don't think it was, because I never saw facilities like this. So they go and they beat Wisconsin. And people are like, who is this school? Well, this is a school who doesn't have a football program. They have, I think, 17 varsity sports. Football is obviously the biggest moneymaker at most places, but some people can't afford to have football, so you can't have that moneymaker. So for High Point, they lean on their other sports, and they're D1 in all of them. They're not like major D1 like Big Ten, SEC, but they are D1 in basketball and a lot of their sports. And I think they're in the Big South Conference, which is like Gardner-Webb, Winthrop, Charleston Southern, some other schools you've seen, not massive ones, but all of them have their value. But at any rate, this place costs $45,000 a year. As of it's probably more than that now. $45,000 a year, private school. This is their basketball arena. We've got a couple pictures here. Here's the outside of it. Like, you want to know a school that cares about basketball? They're like, yeah, we're a tiny little private school in North Carolina, and then they built the damn Taj Mahal for basketball. Let's just skip ahead. Here's the next one. Here's the foyer, as I'm sure they call it. I'm sure there's bidets in these bathrooms too. But it's amazing. There's some of the concourse, and then here's the inside of it. I mean, can you believe that? Like, everyone saw them beat Wisconsin this year. It's like, who the hell is this school? That's going to help their recruiting, getting into the tournament and then beating a Big Ten team. But those facilities, like, come on, man, those are amazing. I kind of want to go back there. I'm not a basketball player. I played a little bit through high school, but I'm a football guy, obviously. That place is insane. I just want to go to school there and go to the games.
First of all, I want to see the construction photos of that place being built, because I'm a true believer in a civilization called Tartaria. And I think a lot of the buildings that we have in the United States and around the world are from that civilization, because that looks like sort of Tartarian architecture to me. So I have to, put that conspiracy out of my mind. I want to see the groundbreaking up until that facility was built to believe that it wasn't built by the Tartarians.
You know how many people are searching that right now online? Kathy, how do you spell Tartarians? I don't know. Shut up, Butch.
No, but it looks like one of those structures that you would have seen at the World's Fairs back in the day. No. Like the Chicago World's Fair.
Fair point. That's a fair point. It's an impressive structure. Maybe there is a little Tom story behind it. Don't know. I know if you're a High Point kid, that's pretty cool. If you're a recruit who's coming on campus for a visit, that's going to make an impact. So kudos to High Point. I don't know a whole lot about the school. I know that we're talking about them right now, and I know that their facilities are amazing, and I want to just have like an apartment in that building so I can watch games. I want to see the locker. I bet the locker rooms are sick too.
One of my favorite parts of this tournament has been the High Point band, and in particular, the guy who plays the cowbell.
Yes. And then dances like...
He is Gene. He is the spirit animal of Gene from the Saturday Night Live skit.
He is something special. He is really... And I think he knows it, like, hey, I'm going to go viral. Like, this is going to be the thing because there's going to be a lot of cameras. There's not a ton of cameras at the regular season games for High Point. Not saying they're not on television sometimes, but like this is obviously the most attention you get. And he capitalized on that. Like, I mean, good for you, my friend. Like, that's job well done.
Yeah, if that guy was in residency in Las Vegas, I would go to his show just for the cowbell.
We need more cowbell. Last basketball story. Wisconsin goes out first round to High Point. As I predicted, I'm sorry, Tom. As I predicted, North Carolina goes out to VCU. And now Hubert Davis reportedly not in the best graces of the donors and supporters at UNC in Chapel Hill there. Former player. It seems like my understanding is, and I don't want you to give inside school information here, but my understanding is disappointed. This has happened before. It can't happen here. UNC is a blue blood basketball program. It is among the top of the top. You played for us. We love you. You did a great job taking over. You've done some awesome things. Let's find a safe way for you to land and still be involved in the program, just not as the head coach. That's the understanding a lot of people are taking from this, but it does seem like a move is imminent.
I do feel like there's a move that's going to be imminent, and as much as I like Hubert Davis, I think him still being a part of the program, but kind of, shifting in a different direction, I think would be great. Hubert is a great guy. He's got a great soul. He is a gentleman's gentleman. I have nothing but, admiration for the guy, and I want to see him still a part of the UNC program and family. So I think if he is offered an off-ramp, I think he should take it. Carolina has a way of trying to keep their basketball program in the family of, the Dean Smith way of bringing former players back and putting them into, players and coaches and bringing them back into the fold. I think it might be time that they look outside of that template that they have and, maybe go elsewhere for somebody and for the head coaching position.
At a certain point, you have to. I get it. Michigan's that same way. We need a Michigan man. It's like, no, we need Michigan to be Michigan. The standard is the standard. Whoever gets it, keeps the standard and or exceeds the standard is who we want. I think I watched, by the way, side point, the press conference to kick off spring practice the other day with Kyle Whittingham. K-Whitty, baby. I think we got the right guy, not a Michigan man. And I think he's going to do phenomenal there. I wanted to fit it in today. We didn't have time. There's some stories about some new hires that are, we'll talk about it Thursday. There's some new hires with females involved up in Ann Arbor. But we'll get into that there. But I think all that to say, I think you're right. Like at a certain point to say, like, are we pigeonholing ourselves by saying it has to be someone who has been involved in this coaching system and or played in Chapel Hill? How about you just get the best? Just get the best. You can get for UNC, if you're talking basketball or soccer, you can get the best. So go get them. Go get the best.
Yeah, and as much as it pains me to say this, I think an interesting parallel as far as like a coach goes, and who I don't care for the NBA and the style of play. But what JJ Reddick has done with the Lakers in the last couple of months, and he being from Duke, I got to give the guy his props in how he was able to corral somebody like LeBron James and put LeBron in a position where he can help the team but not be the focus of the team. And I see. I would hope that they would reach out to somebody who has that kind of potential, like a JJ Reddick has, to insert into that program.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Step one is if they actually go ahead and work this out with Hubert Davis, and he ends up exiting, and it's not a big "you're fired, you suck." It's just they have a sweet and professional way of doing it. Hopefully, if that's how it goes down, that's how it goes down, and then we'll see. We'll see what the answer is. Two last things that I just want to touch on before we get out of here. One, both of them crazy in their own respect, and yet so different. Like there's no possible way to describe how different they are. To the NFL, Seahawks obviously just won the Super Bowl. They're doing pretty damn well. Good for them. 12th man. Sam Darnold. I don't want to talk about that. But Jackson Smith-Njigba has been phenomenal as a receiver. Huge weapon, huge tool for the Seahawks. And he's now going to be a Seahawk through 2031 because he has signed a record-breaking extension, making him the highest-paid receiver in league history. Here's the stats. You can see it. Jackson Smith-Njigba, $42.15 million per year on this new contract. Of it, I think $120 million of it is guaranteed. So he's a Seahawk through 2031, barring a major shift and change. But he's now beating out Jamar Chase, and his record contract, which you can see on the screen, is just over $40 million. Justin Jefferson, who's at $35 million. You're like, Justin Jefferson's maybe the best receiver in the league. Well, he's the third highest paid. He's not, but I mean, these are crazy numbers. CeeDee Lamb for Dallas, $34 million, and DK Metcalf signed a new contract with Pittsburgh. I think it was last year. I think it was 2025, which puts him at $33 million per year. So you've got this new league-changing, I don't want to say earth-shattering, but league-changing figure that's been set with the re-signing for Jackson Smith-Njigba, and that you say, okay, well, that's a lot of money. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Do players need to make that much money? I understand the argument you're trying to make. I'm with you. I don't think anyone needs to make that much money. That's where the league standards are these days. That's just how things are. But because of this, now you've taken the receiver market. Every time a big deal like this happens, you've taken the receiver market and you've put a new ceiling on it. Or a new floor, I guess we should say. Because, Puka Nacua is coming up for his agreement soon. And you know what his agents are going to say? They're going to be like, well, I mean, we saw what Jackson got in Seattle, and we really don't want to settle below that. We'd like to be above it. So all this one-upsmanship, the cap jumped a huge amount this year for teams in the NFL. You see these contracts coming up time and time again at all these positions, obviously quarterback, receiver, but I mean, man, $42 million a year is not bad. Like I would take it.
Yeah, I would take it too, and I would take the beating that came along with it as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But the salaries in football, well, in sports in general, are just getting so outrageous. I can't even. It doesn't seem real to me. It seems like we're going back to Dr. Evil and go, oh, we'll pay you $1 million.
Yeah.
It seems. It's hard for the average person to grasp their brain around that kind of money for 1 year. For me, especially, it's hard for me to grasp the concept of the Dolphins giving Tua to the Atlanta Falcons and saying, hey, don't worry about his $99 million contract. We got that. We got plenty of money to spare.
Yeah, that dead money, that's on us. You have them.
But you're right. It does raise the ceiling a lot for other athletes in football, especially wide receivers. Puka Nacua, this is the biggest gift that Puka and his agent have ever gotten before in their entire life, or any wide receiver for that matter. Could you imagine, back in the 90s and Michael Irvin getting a contract that would be comparable to that for the time, and then Jerry Rice going in and saying, okay, time for us to sit down, Eddie DeBartolo Jr. What do you got?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Puka, congrats, man. Maybe now, Puka took a shot at Sidney Sweeney earlier this year. This helps you shouldn't choose your partner based on money, but maybe this helps increase your odds of getting that. What was it? He was talking about skydiving. I like skydiving too.
Right. So, whatever deal Puka gets, I think Sidney Sweeney's going to start sliding into his DMs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a bad problem to have. I'm not, whatever. Okay. Before we put up this last asset, this is the craziest story. It is so crazy. Let me just ask you, can you imagine a quadruple amputee? That means no arms, no legs, or no appendage, no hands, no legs. Can you imagine someone being a quadruple amputee playing cornhole?
Other than being the bag, no.
Other than being the bag, like a midget toss where you throw the actual person themselves. Which we're on to something here. Let's talk about that after the show and figure out a way forward on that. That part's mind-boggling to me in and of itself. But then let me ask this question. Can you picture a quadruple amputee cornhole player who apparently is pretty good using a firearm to shoot someone and then fleeing the scene in a car? So you're playing cornhole with no arms or legs, then you're using no arms or legs to pick up a firearm, shoot somebody, and then get in a vehicle and drive away. What world are we living in, Tom Cunningham? Because this makes no sense to me, and I promise you this is a real story.
In all of the police shows I have done, I would love to have been in a pursuit with somebody that was a quadruple amputee, because I've got a lot of questions about that. First of all, if you're the cops chasing the guy, you don't have to worry about him bailing out of the car and running. And if you do, it's going to be a very short, very quick foot pursuit.
You'd think.
But the big question that I have is, okay, he takes off in a car, he gets arrested. How is he handcuffed? That's my first question.
Yeah, I mean, put this picture back up. Like, where do you cuff this person? Do you go back to like medieval times and put a chain around their waist?
Right. Like around the collar and just kind of drag him in with a chain and a big collar around his neck, like a dog or something. It's very odd to me. And then also, how do you put him in the police car? Do you lift him or do you ask him to lift himself into the police car? And then after that, okay, it seems like this case is pretty open and shut, that he shot this woman, which is another weird sort of, I guess he probably has a charming personality and maybe a nice sense of humor. That
I think it was a dude who he shot, but yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, okay. It was Bradrick Michael Wells. It was the victim.
So it wasn't a spouse then?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm reading what we had on the screen, but Continue on with your logic. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore, apparently, after this story.
All I can say is this guy, if he's found guilty and is sentenced, he better be in protective custody, because you have no ability to fight back, and he'll just be passed around prison like,
That's such a dark thought, but it's so true.
Yes. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you're a prison sponge at this point. I feel we probably just got kicked off of YouTube. But that's a dark thought. There were so many thoughts I had already that were like so out of like the norm of everyday life, and then you threw that one in there, and like I need to call an emergency session with one of my therapists.
But you know what? There are clips of him like at a gun range shooting, so I can kind of see how that happens. And when I was in my younger days, I used to be a bellman at the Naples Beach Hotel and Golf Club, and I since then it's now I think the Four Seasons. And every year they would host an amputee golf tournament. And so, of course, I was curious to see, a guy with no arms playing golf. And, it was amazing. He had this like gun stock that he would put under his armpit and then put the club in the gun stock and swing like that.
Okay.
So, when I first heard this story, I was like, of course, like everybody else, you think of, when it says quadruple, he has no arms, I think was the initial headline,
right.
The clickbait to get you on it. So normally, you think that, the amputation is severed like at the shoulder. So there are absolutely no arms. But, from what the pictures that I've seen, it's, and I think you've seen as well, it's half. It's like, his amputations are below the knees and also, below the elbow.
Yeah.
So you do have something to work with there. And then, seeing him shoot at the gun range, it all makes sense on how this crime was committed.
But I haven't seen those videos. So explain to the people, because honestly, I've spent most of my life dealing obviously with guns, with my old job. Like that's what I use guns more than spoons and forks. I don't understand, like what contraption, like you've got, and I'm not, to be clear, I'm not mocking amputees of any sort, whether you're, quadruple or otherwise. What are you putting in the trigger well? You can't get a nub in a trigger well. So like when he was shooting, like what kind of contraption did he have to do that?
It looked like, from what I've seen, it looked like there was some muscle or tendon that was kind of like that he had control over, whether it was a bicep or something that he was able, and I believe that there was something in the trigger itself, some sort of mechanism to be able to pull it back, but he was able to like get it in there and be able to squeeze something to, some sort of, like I said, either a tendon or a muscle, along with some arm fat to be able to get it to squeeze to fire it. And same thing. And I can't remember. I think with the cornhole, with the bag tossing that he had, it was the same sort of concept. There was something in there that he was able to just,
Yeah, I get that. I feel like I get that. Like,
yeah.
Still difficult. Like, man, I can't imagine. I can't imagine living that life. Now, if you do, you shouldn't go so far to the point where you get angry and then you figure out a way to use a firearm, kill someone, and then figure out a way to drive away and flee police. But your life was really impressive up until the bitter end when you made some terrible decisions.
Right. I mean, pretty much at that point, if you're a professional at anything and you have an obstacle by like being a quadruple amputee, you can write your ticket anywhere because it's one of the most inspiring stories that people are going to want to see and want to know a lot about. But evidently, this guy had an anger management problem and absolutely zero conflict resolution skills. But we don't know the full side of the story. Was it self-defense? It doesn't seem like it at this point, but who knows? It could be, we could be seeing the very beginnings of a hero's journey where it was, he was in fear for his life or whatever it was.
Yeah. Who knows? We don't know. Maybe there's a, investigative story on one of the evening news channels done about this at some point, which you shouldn't take with a grain of salt because it's being done by them, but interesting story nonetheless.
But to me, this harkens back to like the era of like P.T. Barnum. Like back in the '90s in Florida, we had the murder of Lobster Boy. Remember that? He was the sideshow guy that had, all his fingers were like fused together and he was part of the sideshow era, but evidently had, a horrible temper and was very abusive to his wife, who his wife finally had enough one day and ended up shooting him.
I don't remember that story. I'm glad that I'm not referred to as Lobster Boy or don't have those ailments.
Yeah, that was the big news in Gibsonton, Florida, or as it's called, Gibtown. Gibtown was originally established by, I believe it was the Ringling Brothers Circus, where they would have retired sideshow people and other circus performers that would all live in Gibsonton, Florida, and that's where the murder took place.
Interesting. Why does Florida have all these places? We've got Pigeon Farms or whatever it's called here, where all the midgets from Wizard of Oz live. We've got places from this. Like we've got some weird. Like I get it, folks. We've got some weird stuff going on in this state. There was a video. There was an article on one of our sites the other day. A Florida woman arrested for going around to VRBOs and urinating on camera and then putting it up on some sites. Like, what? Like, why do we have to do this stuff? Like wrestling an alligator? Hell yeah, do it. Supporting your country, awesome, amen. Some of this other stuff is just weird. There's some weird stuff. You go especially once you get off the coast. Like I'm telling you, if you come to Florida and visit, don't leave the coasts. It's somewhat normal on the coastlines. You go to the center of the state, man. Good luck. Like you're on your own.
Well, Florida, ever since its founding, Florida has been the place. It was, to me, the original Florida man has got to be Ponce de Leon. And Ponce was in Puerto Rico for the longest time and ran afoul of the governor there and was going to be put in prison.
Love that he said ran afoul, too, just to kind of like work the time part into it. Keep going. Sorry.
My guess is he was probably having some sort of illicit affair with the governor's wife or one of the governor's daughters, and that was the reason why he was going to be forced off of Puerto Rico. But he ended up making a deal with the King of Spain at the time, saying, hey, there's this place that has the Fountain of Youth, as the legend goes. But for myself, who, really likes history, likes pop culture, and really, really is a conspiracy enthusiast, When you say I have found the fountain of youth and you're talking to somebody who's older with a lot of money, that only means one thing. That means erectile dysfunction antidote. And so he convinced the king, he's like, hey, man, I'll keep your pencil sharpened, or I'll keep, the quill on your plume ready to go so you can write. Just cut me a check. I'll find these ED meds for you. And so he sold him on the fountain of youth. So Florida was founded on the premise of a scam, and an ED scam. And this is my own personal theory, but I think the facts back it up if you research the history like I have. And so from that founding of Florida, you're going to get people who didn't quite fit in every state that they were. And like, it's got sunshine, but, it's a bit too humid. There are a lot of mosquitoes. Screw it. I've got nothing left to lose. I can go down to Florida and, make a run of it. Gibsonton reminds me of Pinecraft, Florida, which is also next to Gibsonton in that Tampa area. And Pinecraft was settled by the Amish. I bet a lot of people don't know that we have Amish here in Florida. Well, the Amish, this particular sect, didn't quite get along with the ones in Pennsylvania, so they came down to be celery farmers of all things. And of course, they found it very hard to grow celery in the sandy soil of Florida, so they started building furniture. So there's still Amish restaurants in Pinecraft, Florida. But the original Florida man, Ponce de Leon, was all about ED medicine. And so ever since then, since 1512, it's been a constant influx of people who just didn't quite fit in wherever they were from and were like, you know what, let's give Florida a shot.
The journey that you took us on to end this show today is legendary. Almost as legendary as Ponce de Leon in the beginning of Big Pharma, apparently, according to this man. That's wild, Tom. Well, this has been really fun. As always, we have a good time around these parts. If you're new, please make sure you're subscribed. Do all those positive things. Hit the like button. Share away. But do for sure make sure you're subscribed. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed for sure. Even if you have subscribed, because odds are they have unsubscribed you. So please do all those things. We will look forward to getting with you on Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you then.